thrilling, dude. I was married to a nurse once. Okay?
I'm telling you, the pinched nerve, guys. It is Pinched Nerve Wednesday, October 15th, 2025. Rob Brown in Memphis, Brendan Martin in Ocala, Marion County, Florida, the horse capital, the limestone capital of Western Civ. I love the hamburger. I love the hamburger coffee mug. Got a great show today. Jake Wimberly, ESPN 105.9, the afternoon drive in Jackson, Mississippi. Oakley, the intern, McFerrin checks in from the plains. Heath Cline, producer of the Chuck Oliver Show, also co-host. Brilliant. I love him. He really, as Chuck says, Rolodex to the stars. He's not kidding. We'll also have Dudley Dawson, Inside Arkansas, Vince Ferrara, the sports animal in Knoxville. Do us a favor. Get your cellular phone out. Take a picture with the QR codes of Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And Brendan's right. Share and like us. That means the world to us. It's how we grow. We put out all this content for you. We have some great sponsors. If you're interested in being a sponsor, we can get you a lot of business, and we will do it. And we're doing more and more stuff as we build this channel. Multiple hours of power on the SEC Sidelines Sports Network. That's who we are. That's what we are. We do it every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 a.m. Central. The best guests. Remember, tomorrow we've got Mark Schlabach, ESPN.com, one of the best writers on college football and golf. Friday, Ivan Mazel, another great writer, is going to talk about his new book about Frank Leahy, the Enigma of Notre Dame. He'll join us Friday. So let's get started. It's going to be a great day, everybody, and thanks for checking in. Jake, it is
Snake.
Jake the Snake Wimberly, Bulldog, civil engineer extraordinaire. Let's talk numbers. First off, thank you so much for taking time to join us and
of course,
and work with us. We've got Oakley McFerrin, our intern.
Civil engineers have always been like my best friends in my life growing up. Why? Screw sports. Why are civil engineers such good friends? Go, Jake Wimberly.
Well, I mean, I know some that aren't good friends. Let me just say that.
Well,
I like those guys too. It's all right.
Yeah.
But in Oakley, it's great to meet you, sir. Yeah. Hey, look, civil engineers are pretty laid back guys, right? And girls. I mean, at the core, I mean, you're there to try to hopefully help humanity, right? I mean,
that's right.
Put a road down. Let's get some water going. Let's get your sewage working. Let's make sure your bridges aren't falling in.
Right. So, which is very important. And speaking of,
but then you guys are the first ones to be like, all right, and let's go to the bar.
There you go.
And we're going to work it. And Jake,
guys,
you put out cool numbers, and Brendan and Oakley and I in the world on how college football makes sense to us right now. What trends, you cover Mississippi State and Ole Miss, Southern, all things in Mississippi, but what trends are you seeing right now in college football, good or bad?
Well, let's go with a couple things. One, we've talked about the efficiency index, and a lot of people look at efficiencies in a different ways. Dave Bartu looks at them in a certain way, and then you look at a guy like Bill Conley and Kelly Ford, a guy who I'll have on today. And so, but I tend to look at efficiencies kind of like as a stock market watch in college football. And what does that mean? Well, historically, you can see if you're not inside the top 15 in offensive and defensive scoring efficiency in college football, you don't have a shot at winning the national title. Now, obviously, there's some other things that have to be in play there. You have to, obviously have the right roster talent. You have to have the right coaching staff. You have to have the right quarterback. But let's just work off the efficiencies today. And, I was asked this question the other day on my show is, does the SEC have a legitimate national title contender, somebody that can win it, not somebody that can play for it, somebody that can win it? So we started looking at the efficiencies now that we're about halfway through the season. And, if you go to the top of the efficiency chart, Ohio State is right there, 6th offensively in the country, 3rd defensively. We know they've got the talent. We know they got the quarterback. They've got it all. So Ohio State's there. Indiana, guys, we got to take Indiana serious. I mean, Indiana is 12th offensive scoring efficiency, 2nd defensively. They just went on and beat a very good Oregon team in Eugene. First time, I believe, in 18 times that Oregon has not lost a game there. Miami, the same. They're 15th offensively and 4th. All these teams that we're seeing at the top, they are legitimate contenders. Even Oregon right now, 8th offensively, 7th defensively. So let's move to the SEC real quickly. And by the way, we got to start believing in Texas Tech. Number 1 defensively, 18th offensively. They are right there. We know the money that they put in. Alabama is going to be the first team off the board in the SEC, though. They're 10th offensively, 18th defensively. So they're right there. I mean, Alabama probably today has the best shot, at least by the numbers, of being that national championship type team out of the SEC. Georgia, I think Georgia's wailing, guys. 16th offensively, 25th defensively. Texas A&M, this is an undefeated team. Defensively, they're there, 12th in the country. Offensively, though, 29th. They've got to get that thing fixed, because what'll happen, and we know this, is they'll get bogged down in a ball game offensively, and then that will be it. They'll lose a ball game. What about Ole Miss? You take a team like Ole Miss, and we'll do a couple more, and I'll pass it back. But Ole Miss, 23rd offensively, 65th defensively. Love what Lane Kiffin's doing. Love what Ole Miss is doing. But those are not championship numbers. At some point, they're going to get dinged. Obviously, a big one coming up this weekend against Georgia. The same way with Oklahoma. Defensively, they're right there, 11th, but 46th defensively. Guys, we can do this all day long. It's going to tell you the trends. The SEC really today only has one, in my mind, national championship contender, and it's in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah. Oakley, you got a little blood connection to Tuscaloosa, starting with your dad.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm going up there this weekend, I think, for the third Saturday in October, so we'll see how that goes. But how much value do you put into those numbers with it only being week 7? And when do you think we should start taking those numbers really seriously? Like how many games need to be played before that?
No, I think that's a great question. And look, again, it's a small sample size, right? So things can change. I think you really start looking at it November 1. When we get 4 or 5 weeks out, let's see what the initial college football playoff rankings are. I think that's what you've got to look at. I dropped my college football playoff projector poll this week. And, for me, I'll tell you, and you can find it on X. You can see it on Facebook. I've got it just about everywhere. Let me find that real quick, and I'll tell you who I had. For me, but to answer your question, I would say November, because a lot can change, and you'll have a bigger sample size. I've got Ohio State number 1, Miami 2, Indiana 3, Texas A&M 4, Texas Tech 5, Alabama 6, and you go down the list here. I've got 5 SEC teams right now in the playoffs. So those 5 teams are Georgia and Ole Miss, also Alabama, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. 3 for the Big Ten, 1 for the ACC, 1 for the Big 12, 1 group of 5, and I've actually got Notre Dame right there back in this thing, believe it or not. So, but no, to answer your question, let's really take a hard look and a hard stop at it come November 1.
All right, so I like that question from Oakley. People also say we shouldn't have rankings till about the middle of October. That was one of Tommy Tuberville's big things. But we love it in the media, the magazines and all like that. Jake, SEC top to bottom, 1 through 16, this year over year comps versus last year at the same time.
Well, I mean, when you look at the SEC, I think top to bottom, I mean, it's still as good as any league in the country. It's probably the deepest league in the country. I think the Big Ten may be the best league as far as the top end. When you're talking top to bottom, though, the league is really good. I mean, just look at the games we're seeing. I mean, last week, Auburn, Georgia, really close ball game. And you look at Auburn, I know you guys have probably talked about it. I mean, man, 3 ball games in a row where those games could have went the other way and they didn't. So, top to bottom, the league is really, really good. The thing that kind of worries me moving down the road is, we're going to 9 conference games next year. That's 9 more losses in the conference. We're going to need that playoff to expand and expand more, because we need to get those teams in. And here's why. I don't know that the committee, and I don't trust the committee enough, even though they're using some analytics and data and they won't tell us exactly what they're doing, that they're really going to take strength of schedule into consideration at a high rate. Because what you're going to see, I think, and even this year, you may have, 2 or 3 teams that are 9-3 again, that get left out of the playoff, that maybe deserve a playoff spot. If we add a 9th game, which we are, you may have an 8-4 team that maybe deserves a shot in the playoffs. I mean, because if you look at some of these schedules, you look at Alabama, you look at Tennessee, you look at Oklahoma, you can go down the list over the next 5 weeks. It's a gauntlet where Ohio State and Oregon and Indiana, they're kind of cruising the next month. Yeah. So it's not apples to apples. That's what concerns me with the league on a national scale is, will they really take, they being the committee, will they really take the level of competition in this league seriously compared to the rest of the other leagues?
Well, we talked to Rich Clark. He was in Memphis Monday night at the Touchdown Club, executive director of the College Football Playoff Committee. And one thing he said when he was on the show here about 6 weeks ago, if you lose to a really good team, they're not going to punish you, but you better not lose to a team that's not very good below you. Go back to last year, Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois, so that was interesting to hear that take.
No, I agree with you. And look, Ole Miss almost coughed one up against Washington State. They did get the win, but you're right. You can't have bad losses. And I still think the SEC is in line for 4 or maybe 5 teams to get into the playoffs. But it'll be interesting to see, because I don't know down the stretch who those 5 teams are going to be. I mean, look, Tennessee could be one of those teams. Missouri looked really good against Alabama in a loss. They had an opportunity there, obviously, to maybe even win that game. So there's probably 8 teams that could make the playoff in the SEC, and it'll be fun to watch over the next 6 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, jump back in.
In your eyes, do you view a 9-3 team making it this year with maybe, an Auburn or maybe an Alabama with their strength of schedule? Kind of, if you have 3 losses to 3 top 10 teams compared to a 2-loss team from the Big 12, maybe, how do you think the committee will view that?
I think it's going to depend on the losses. You take a team like Texas, who obviously lost at Ohio State. They lost that game to Florida. But if they, were to, let's say, lose at Georgia down the road, at that point, do they still get into the SEC championship game? I mean, yes, I think, to answer your question, we could see a 9-3 team slip in there. You look in just kind of around the league, though, or not just around the league, around the country. It's going to be dependent, I think, on what the rest of the country does. For instance, Ohio State's probably going to be a 0 or 1-loss team. They'll get in. Indiana right now is going to be a 1-loss, maybe a 0 or 1-loss team. Oregon, a 1 to 2-loss team. They're going to get in. So that's 3 teams out of that league. You grab a group of 5 team, or group of 6 team, and that's 4 off the board. 1 Big 12 team is going to get in. I don't think you'll get more than 1. So, you're at 5. And then, of course, when you look at the ACC, how many teams can get in there? Probably for sure 1, the champion, maybe 2, you go 6, 7. So, yes, to answer your question, I think you have to form fit it around the rest of the country. It's like, what is the rest of the country doing? Last year we saw 2 and then you got Notre Dame. They're always the caveat. If Notre Dame gets in, that takes 1 off the board for the SEC as well. Last year we saw 2 ACC teams get in. We saw Clemson get in. We saw SMU get in. I don't know that league has 2 teams this year. Maybe they do. Look at a team like Georgia Tech. Look at a team like maybe even an SMU. So I think a lot of it's dependent on what the rest of the country does, because I do think the committee wants to see some level of parity throughout the country. And let's watch other teams like USC. Let's watch Nebraska and the Big Ten. There's still I think it's way more complex than just what happens inside this league.
ACC, Miami looks really strong this year. That $4 million that they allegedly spent on Carson Beck looks like a good investment. Out of Jacksonville, Florida. I don't know if he went to bowls or not, but I know a lot of people did. Mac Jones, Chipper Jones. But who do you see emerging outside of the Southern footprint, outside of Ohio State? Is there anyone? Do you think Oregon can bring it home?
I do.
1 loss? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's a really good football program and a good football team. And the thing that they do well is they play well. They do it all well, really, but defensively is where it starts. And Dan Lanning has really teed those guys up and done a great job defensively. Offensively, look, they look good, and they were right there, strike for strike with Indiana. I do think they can, and I think a lot of it's going to depend on matchups once you get into the playoff.
Yeah, Jake. All right, we're going to get to Heath Cline's on here, but we got to do this again next week. And I apologize, a little bit late start. But how do people follow you? And you've got a great show, The Afternoon Drive. But thank you so much for your time. This is great. Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. Oakley, great to meet you. And, hey, if you have any problems out of Rob or Brennan, you let me know. So,
a little bit.
He'll just break stuff.
There you go. We'll break it, and then of course we'll build it back.
Yeah, we're just not going to talk about this weekend. That's cool.
That's right. We won't talk about.
We're just not going to talk about the game. That's cool. All right.
Yeah. What do you think happened? By the way,
no, that's cool. I mean,
Mississippi State.
No big deal.
That was his underdog of the conference.
Dude, I had Mississippi State all like 2 months ago as my underdog. I think we talked about it. I said, "What do you think their chances are?" I was, "Oh, you're crazy."
I'll say this on the game, and I know y'all got to get Heath in here. I say this on the game. Take Mississippi State in the points. I think Florida wins, but I think Mississippi State scares the crap out of them this week.
I think Mississippi State wins.
How about that?
Wow.
It'll be fun. Hey, I'm on X at Jake Wim. We'll be on today 3 to 5 today. And of course, Rob, let's get on. Let's talk some junior college football next week.
I'm ready. I had lunch with Max Howell yesterday. I'll do it.
There you go. Tell Max I said hello. Appreciate it.
I will. You bet.
Rock and
Thank
roll.
you so much. Let's bring in Heath Cline. Heath Cline, I like what Chuck Oliver calls you Rolodex to the stars. I've never, Dan Matthews helped me so much with engagement and just detail and just structure. You are equally generous with your time to come on here. I listened to your show, and I recommend everybody after this show, 10 to 12, 11 to 1 Eastern, Monday through Friday, college football year round, the Chuck Oliver Show. He calls you Heath Cline Rolodex to the stars. You're a Florida grad, correct?
Yeah, I'm Florida alum, but yeah, Chuck likes to go with Rolodex. We're trying to hit the younger demo. I'm not sure we're doing that with Rolodex, so I might have to work with him on that.
We've got our intern, Oakley McFerrin, who's a sophomore at Auburn. Oakley, you ever heard of a Rolodex?
I have not. Never heard of it.
All right. Well, it's a great way to keep up with people. But Heath, thank you so much for sharing your time with us this morning. I'm going to put the ball in your hands. College football, you're right there in Atlanta. We were there at our daughters over the weekend, cutting through on 85, going through downtown early to get to the Auburn-Georgia game. The Georgia Tech traffic was coming in. They got the ball rolling there. You're right in the middle of the SEC and ACC, so take it from here.
Well, I mean, in terms of what there is going on with Georgia
Yeah.
Tech, there's a lot to be excited about. I think certainly you look at their schedule and you feel like this game coming up is probably the most challenging game they have before Georgia. Now, that sounds goofy that we're talking about a road trip to Duke because we all know what Duke, used to be, but even though they've lost 2 games, they haven't lost in conference yet. They've got a quarterback in Mensa that they spent a lot of money on who is playing pretty well. I think he's a really good player. I'm curious to see. They just made a trip to North Carolina at noon a couple of weeks back, and against Wake Forest, they really should have lost the game. If they had just had a couple of things go differently, they do lose the game. Very fortunate to get away with that one. And so I am real curious to see, having made a noon trip to a similarly uninspiring venue, because even though Duke is better at football, nobody is under the impression Duke is a great venue. Oh, wow, those fans are bouncing off the walls. Can't hear yourself in Wallace Wade. That's not real. Yeah. And so I'm really curious to see how Georgia Tech handles this, because as long as they're mentally sharp, I still think they're the better team. You don't know if Haynes King can make it through the season completely intact. So far, it's been hit or miss, but he has at least been able to be out there on the field enough to where the one game he missed didn't impact them. Can they get 6 more games like this? If so, especially the way that the Dogs persist in letting every team they play, except for Kentucky, lead at halftime or get out to big starts, this team could be a playoff team. I don't know that they're one of the 12 best teams in the country, but they could absolutely be a playoff team.
Yeah. Oh, jump in here with Heath Cline.
I think the main thing for Virginia Tech, for Georgia Tech, if you can win this game, I mean, keeping Haynes King upright for the playoffs. I mean, the only, I think, losable game left would be Georgia. So, I mean, you're sitting very pretty, and then Georgia, maybe the ACC championship, but 2 lost and one of them being the ACC championship, you're in. So I think you talked about it perfectly, is keeping Haynes King upright.
I think if they lose 2 and one of them's in the ACC championship and one's to Georgia, they might get in, but I wouldn't count on it. I still, I know you guys were talking with Jake about this. There's so much happening right now that we don't know about. So, for example, if USC wins this weekend, Notre Dame's out. If not, find the team that's going to beat Notre Dame. And if Notre Dame's 10-2 with the 2 wins or the 2 losses really early in the season and against quality teams, they're going to put Notre Dame in. Penn State would have gotten in. I think everybody agreed before the season, even if they did what they always do, lose to Ohio State, maybe even lose to Indiana, 10-2, getting in. We all know they're not getting in. So, spots are either opening up or going away completely here. Georgia Tech or any ACC team, I think, still needs a certain degree of help if you don't win your conference. So, again, do you lose to Georgia, but do you lose to Georgia in an exact replay of the game from last year? So you lost in 7 overtimes. That's different than Georgia handled you. You lost 27-10. Tech is going to need some help. And by the way, that Clemson win, does Clemson win out now? Do they take out South Carolina and win out? And by the end of the year, maybe they're ranked 15, 20, something like that. Yeah. That's the kind of thing Tech has to care about too. They're not going to have enough wins on their own that excite people.
All right, looking at the mess at North Carolina, and I every day during the summer there was a lot of talk. It's hard to believe the people, you saw it coming. Let's talk about that. How does this thing end up, you think?
Oh, I mean, they have a bunch of people over there that are invested in it. Now, look, let's just be real. None of us know what's going on in Bill's head. Nobody does. This is going to continue to be an embarrassment. That part we know, and we know because the team is simply physically not good enough. I mean, that was the thing. They bought into this notion. We are so smart. We are such NFL big brains that with these little college coaches, we will come in and we will just out scheme them. Well, when's the last time somebody very prominently went with the decided schematic advantage? It was Charlie Weiss. And what happened? As Charlie Weiss's career progressed, it became very clear. You might have a bigger brain on the chalkboard. Who cares? It doesn't matter if you don't have the players. Well, they brought in these guys that even the players they were bringing from big name schools, there were guys that didn't play at the big name schools and that there was a reason they didn't play at the big name schools. And so you just got to, if this was poker, you've got a hand that's nothing but like 2 and 8. And you can't do anything with that hand except for try to bluff. Well, they tried to bluff and that didn't work. So now you got nothing. Yeah. So the rest of the year is going to be trash. Is he willing to walk away from 1 year of trash and try and say, well, they didn't support me well, or something like that? Can he try and spin that? It's clear what their original plan was. Show up at college, be big brain Bill Belichick, win like 9 or 10 games. Somebody in the NFL, Jerry Jones or somebody else, wants to make a big splash and brings you back so you can catch Don Shula. You hand it off to your son. Here you go, son. You're now an NCAA high-level head coach at a pretty good program. And that was the plan. Well, that plan's out the window. No way in the world Steve Belichick would be allowed to come to North Carolina football games next year, maybe with a ticket, but certainly not as head coach. So what do? Do you just walk away, go to Nantucket with your 24-year-old and enjoy life? I mean, he could. I can't rule it out. But I feel like the dude's got enough personal pride and maybe does still want to help his son out, trying to get him in position for a head coaching job, since you did take him out of a job at Washington that on his own he was actually doing pretty well.
Yeah.
I feel like he gives it another year. But will they evaluate better? Will Mike Lombardi, with a year in college as opposed to a year on a microphone opining, will Mike Lombardi find him actual players? Because if they continue to recruit this level of player and count on that level of transfer and high school kids that maybe are more talented high school kids than what they got, but still high school kids, if they're counting the idea he'll whip that up and it'll be great next year, forget about it.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I think that they need to restructure their staff in the sense that Bill Belichick, I never thought would be the one to, kind of ride on the coattails, try to recruit high school players for a year long. That's just not how he is as a person. I think they need to fill their staff with majority recruiters, let Bill Belichick and a few of maybe his OC and his DC be the schematic guys, because they're not going to win with the JV team. And I know Bill Belichick, I never thought he'd be a great recruiter in the sense that he doesn't want to run around all year recruiting. He wants to coach football. So if they can rearrange their staff, I see them maybe being successful, but it's going to be a few years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you look at Freddie Kitchens, and he's going to be gone. And this is a classic example of the NFL arrogance we're talking about here. Freddie Kitchens was on the staff as a tight ends coach. If you're Bill Belichick, you could have gone out and gotten somebody who really understood college offense and had coached it at a high level, or you could, this guy was a NFL head coach for a minute, he'll be fine. And that's what he did. I'm not saying that their problem is Freddie Kitchens as offensive coordinator. They've got a billion problems, much bigger than just Freddie Kitchens. But was Freddie Kitchens anybody's offensive coordinator in college ever? Was he anybody's quarterback's coach in college ever? No. You just kind of said, well, NFL pedigree, good enough. Look at how he put together his staff. I mean, here we are, regardless of what school we're talking about. This year is going to be an enormous challenge for you to put together your staff. And if you're trying to recruit a high school class, like if you're Penn State, the signing day for high school is literally the week of the conference championship games. So if you're waiting for anybody who's in a conference championship game to try and hire them, you're going to be in a situation where you're not even beginning to put together a staff until the high school kids already signed in large numbers. That's a mess. So whenever you get that guy signed, whoever you are, you better know who his staff can't be. Okay, we coach X, and now he'll start looking around for some coaches. And a month from now, we'll kids who their position coach will be and what scheme we're running. It'll be fine. Look at the timeline on Belichick's hires. He didn't act like there was any urgency at all. Well, if it's the NFL and you're going to the Senior Bowl and you're going to scouting missions, at some point you'll hire an assistant running backs coach. Hey, that's great. But this is college. This is where you're recruiting kids. They want to know who they're playing for. He took forever.
Yeah. 70-something new players coming in. All right, let's cross over and look in the SEC right now. There are going to be some vacancies in coaching. I was down there, Auburn fans almost, driving to the game single file with the lights on. It's just rough, and you got to get over it. I mean, the officiating is what it is. I was there, but you still got 60 minutes to win the game. Buck Bellew, Heath, had a hell of a rant about that. But Heath, hopefully we'll get you back in here. But I'm just curious, and I'm opining here. Who is the big name that everybody in the country wants? It's going to be Curt Cignetti. He's from Pittsburgh. I told you, Oak and Brendan, we know this. He's a tough, hard ass. His father coach as well. Pete Cordelli knows him. Somebody's going to try to make a run on Curt Cignetti. And, could you imagine Curt Cignetti, Oak, at Florida? We lost Heath, and hopefully Heath can get back in, but he's aliens got him. But Dudley Dawson, inside Arkansas, up in the northwest corner. Love the studio, man. Look at what that tells you, Oakley. He reads a lot. He's a very, very pensive man, and the man from inside Arkansas, Dudley Dawson.
Hey, before we get started, I was listening to the previous guy, Heath Cline, and I was wanting to say that I'd like to point out that my 62-year-old wife is better looking than Bill Belichick's 24-year-old girlfriend, although she's very easy on the eyes as well.
I totally agree.
Stays out of my business, doesn't want to be on the sidelines, all that kind of stuff. So I think I'm winning. I may not have the Super Bowl ring, but I'm winning in that.
I don't think she's that hot. She's not I don't think she's that great. I mean, I don't know.
I think she's easy on the eyes.
I know, but I mean, to sell out your entire Bill Belichick career, come on, bro.
I like Bill Belichick. I mean, Pat Dye Jr. told us,
psycho, bro. Like, what are you doing, man? You got to roll out of that.
Well, Bill Belichick, Pat Dye Jr. told us on the show one time that his father went up to Nantucket when he had a house up there, and Bill Belichick, he said, "Hey, man, Dad's up here with me for the week. He's going to stay up here." And he goes, "Your dad's here?" Pat Dye. And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, let's meet down at the harbor. It's some bar down there in Nantucket." And went down there. They figured, he'd want to meet Dad and talk to him. He goes, 3.5, 4 hours later, they're still out there talking. He said, Bill Belichick was the biggest history nut about college football. Fascinated. And his girlfriend at the time came by, or his wife, and was like, "Hey, Bill, we got to go to this party." And he goes, "No, not going to happen. I'm talking to Coach Dye. And this is like, a kid held hostage in the Baskin-Robbins factory." And it just, I think, so don't forget that. I mean, Oak is a Steelers fan. There's been 4 coaches in 100 years for the Steelers. But man, it is a mess. Oakley, talk about what's going on with Arkansas right now. Bob Petrino, he's a nice man. They went to Knoxville, played their ass off. Okay, Phil Stevens at the Touchdown Club, huge Arkansas fan. He does not miss a game, home or away. Talking Monday. You've had 3 really close losses. The only bad one was the Notre Dame loss. What happens? By the way, Travis Williams really likes you. I talked to him Saturday, and big fan of yours. Dudley?
For me.
Oh, I thought you said Oakley.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant to say Dudley and Oakley.
I'm just still on Baskin Robbins. I'm just hungry now.
Well, you look at that, you go back over the tape of that football game, and you can find that Arkansas left a win on the field. Those 3 turnovers obviously were big, and that's something that's reared its ugly head during this season. I think you got to give Bobby Petrino a lot of credit for how the team came out and played with a lot of energy. I told you I thought they'd come out and play well, but I thought that Tennessee would score too many touchdowns. But it was right there for the taking. Now they have 3 home games. an opportunity to turn this thing around, secure Bobby Petrino the job. We'll see how it plays itself out. The one thing I will say is in these 3 games, and the last one's right after the start of November, at that point, you should have an idea on which way you want to go, whether you're going to stick with Bobby Petrino or whether you're going to bring in somebody. And I am sure there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, which is a tricky deal because you have a sitting interim coach and you're trying to look for his possible successor. It's probably tough, to deal with everything during this, especially now that there are more schools jumping into the needing a coach circle.
Well,
Well,
yeah. I mean, and then you got to anticipate, right? Because there might be a vacancy down here in Florida. So, if you're Signetti, or you're Lane Kiffin, or you're Urban Meyer, even. I mean, I've heard everybody's going to come in. How do you maintain your roster?
Yeah.
In the off season, Dudley.
You're not going to. I mean, it's just that simple. You have to come in whenever let's say they keep Coach Petrino as the head coach. He'll have a little bit of an edge because they've been going out talking to some guys and they're working on their possible transfer list. It's interesting to me that there are kids not in the portal, but everybody knows a few people who are going to be in the portal because uncles talk, agents talk, all that kind of stuff. You can't talk to kids, but of course.
Sure.
You kind of have
Back
to handle.
channels.
Yeah, you were talking a minute ago about the high school thing. That's going to become real quick. And Arkansas has landed just 4 of the top 15, and really just 4 of the top 30, or excuse me, 6 of the top 30 kids in state. That's going to be the problem for Arkansas. Whoever comes in has to. There's so many great players in the state, not per capita as they say, but there's so many great players in the state that are headed to play at Missouri, that are headed to play at Oklahoma, or headed to play at Oklahoma State, that are headed. You go see them in the conference play, but it has clearly been one of the reasons that Coach Pittman's not coaching here anymore is because they did not put or did not achieve Arkansas first in getting the best players in the state and turning that into the program. I love the transfer portal, all that. You're getting better, but it's if you're going to lose ball games, you better lose them with Arkansas kids.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. I think Coach Petrino wants this job more than anybody out there. So I think, he's not quitting up, and I'm a coach that doesn't quit. Their team won't quit on him either. And you've got 3 home games coming up, 2 of them against unranked teams, still good teams, but unranked. You got to build some momentum there. I think if you go 2-1, get some momentum behind, maybe get some in-state guys to buy in. Because if you're looking at it, you might be competing against Penn State, Florida, FSU, and Auburn for coaches. So this might not be a great cycle to be looking for a coach, and you give yourself the opportunity to keep your roster together if you keep Coach Petrino, and I'm sure he still has connections with the high school coaches there, and gives you an upper leg on the in-state recruiting. So.
I think that's a good point. And if we get a chance, we got some sound bites, just a couple of quick sound bites, talking to Rich Clark, executive director of the College Football Playoff Committee, when he was in town Monday night in Memphis at the Touchdown Club. By the way, Alyssa Lang will be there this coming Monday from SEC Network, a Charlotte native, South Carolina grad.
If we don't get these on, I'll post them on social.
Okay,
Rob.
yeah.
So we have 5 guests. And
yeah, I know.
So
I just want to say, and Rich Clark talks about, man, there's a lot of parity. There's a lot of stuff happening. Look at the orange and white checkerboard, Neyland Stadium on the banks of the Tennessee River. There's the bear. Oakley, you see the bear over there with Vance Lee.
I do.
You don't know where he comes from.
It's perfect for Halloween.
It is. It is. Freddy Krueger. Vince, how you doing this morning? And let's talk 3rd Saturday in October. Oakley, a sophomore, our intern down at Auburn, will be heading up there because his dad, of course, went to Alabama. All his family's from Tuscaloosa. He'll be going to that game. So what happens in the renewal of one of the great rivalries in all of sport?
Yeah, great to be on with you guys. Cast of Thousands today. And it's a fun week. And, Tennessee hasn't won in Tuscaloosa against Alabama since 2003.
Yep.
That's how long it's been for Tennessee at Alabama and at Florida as well. So those are on the to-do list, the checklist. And I think this Tennessee team is certainly they're playing better on offense. They're doing some game-changing things defensively, but giving up a lot of yards and a lot more points than anyone I think expected. Certainly been banged up some, but they're getting a little bit healthier and hasn't turned into full results yet. So kind of a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of how fans are feeling about this one. There's still plenty there that feel like this is the year. And I think they're a little better equipped to handle those road environments against the elite teams that they've had trouble in, the Alabamas, the Georgias, those type of things, because they have a veteran quarterback that is poised and I think we'll be able to handle the moment in the adversity. And also their tempo, which has shut down in the past with some negative plays and the crowd and things like that. They don't run the tempo nonstop. The Tennessee and Ole Miss are parallel in that. They use it as a weapon, as a tool, but they're not doing it every down, every play. So when they have to slow things down because if something happens, it's not either element. It's not a panic mode. What do we do now? We only know how to be in tempo. They're more well-rounded offensively now. So I think they have a better chance to be able to survive when blank hits the fan, because it always does in those environments, to shake it off and get through it and get on the other side. Not saying that it will, but I do think they have a better chance because of those 2 big points than they have, especially over the last few years under Heupel.
Yeah. Apparently, the key will be whether Kalen DeBoer wears the black pullover, right?
The black hoodie.
Yeah,
is that?
He's 12-1 in that, and like 3-8 in other things. So.
Yeah, and the old bowling shirt he was wearing. That's right. I think, Kalen DeBoer broke that curse of not winning any good games on the road when they won in Athens a few weeks ago. That's now 10 of the last 11 against Georgia for Alabama. I think Georgia's beaten Auburn now 9 times in a row. But again, don't forget, he was Spurrier was 11-1 against Georgia. He was also 11-1 against LSU. Oakley, you got guys on either side of you: Arkansas, Tennessee, a Gator, Tigers. Kind of your take on this Tennessee-Alabama game, and I want to get into the Arkansas got A&M. There's just everywhere you look, there's a good matchup this weekend.
Yeah, I think Alabama's playing the best of anybody in the SEC right now. They just won 3 very tough games in a row, almost 3 pick'em games. I mean, not Vandy, but Missouri, they're only favored by 3, and they were supposed to lose to Georgia. So, Ty Simpson's only thrown 1 interception this year, and so you're probably not going to get a turnover from them. Joey Aguilar's had a problem with that in this year and the year before at Appalachian State. So you cannot turn the ball over, and I think Tennessee's going to need to do a better job of running the ball and kind of long established drives and keeping the ball away from the Alabama offense, because they're on fire right now. They've got a top receiving core in the nation. Their O-line's getting better each week, and it being at night in Bryant-Denny, it doesn't bode too well for Tennessee. I think Alabama wins this one, and I think they might win by double digits.
Wow. In Alabama, I picked Georgia and Bama to play, but I picked Georgia to win because they played the full 60. But I don't know how good Georgia is. They adjust well at the half. We do know that. Dudley, looking at Arkansas against A&M, that game's been played in Dallas for a long time, 12, 15 years. It's coming to Fayetteville. What's the temperature? What's the mood of the Arkansas fan base? I got a pretty good idea. I'm over in Parkin right now at the Cherry Farm, but they're not happy. But there's movement in the aisles. Things can get better.
Yeah, I believe so. Now, I will tell you that I think there are 2 entrenched camps here. One that thinks Bobby Petrino can handle the job and should be the guy, and another camp, and I think they're about equal. The other camp thinks that they need to bring in somebody new, exciting, somebody who's, gives them an opportunity to have a social media type guy,
Yeah.
who communicates better with them. And I think there's, there are really two different camps there. I don't know which one's going to win out. I don't really care. I mean, you're in our job, you can't really care. Whoever's the head coach, you deal with it and all that.
Yeah.
I will say that I see the viewpoints of both type of fans. Now, this weekend's game, I'm anxious to see how good Texas A&M is up close. I've watched them plenty, at different times and different games. They beat the people that are in front of them. I think they've had some really nice wins, especially going to Notre Dame and beating a team that roughed up Arkansas. But this is, I mean, we're getting pretty close to drawing a line in the sand here for Arkansas. You're either going this season at 2-4 is either going to spiral or have these opportunity with this quirky schedule the SEC has, 3 straight home games, which will be more than they've had all season. Uh, I'm anxious to see what happens, but I think like I was saying, there's 2 camps, and everybody's just kind of sitting back here going, "Let's see what happens." And everybody loves the offense, criticizes the defense. Defense decently played well the other day.
Yeah. Well, think about this. It's October 18th coming up. It's the first home SEC game for Arkansas. Vince, Tennessee, they've got, Banks is a hell of a defensive coordinator. You talked about the 3-tiered running backs that they have, which has been a big deal. What's the weakness thing? What's the thing that's keeping you up at night if you're a Tennessee coach or fan going, we don't match up well, especially on game day against Alabama here or there?
Well, it's the pass defense, and there's several layers of that. Tennessee's doing an awesome job at getting after the quarterback. They're number 1 in the nation in sacks per game. So they can do that, but they're also 121st in pass defense. We're not used to seeing that under Tim Banks. And so they're giving up yards. Also, they're giving up points, scoring defense. Tennessee is 104th. So they're giving up yards, they're giving up points, and they're giving up third downs. And those are all things that Tennessee was really good at last year. Now, there's some areas where Tennessee, those are all areas they were great at last year. Last year, they weren't getting the turnovers, they weren't getting the sacks in large volumes, but they're getting off the field on third down. And so this year, it's like all of their traits have completely flipped from a year ago. The defensive line, they're playing 12 guys, 11 to 12 guys, but they're not as experienced on the back end. And they're not playing those guys as much because those guys aren't quite ready yet. So you have a higher accumulation of snaps for your core guys, and they're just got 2 of their defensive tackles back. So they got to find a way to be better on that front because they're not getting the push to help the back end like they were. Oh, by the way, they still don't have their 2 starting corners back, although Colton Hood has done a great job this year. And I think if they were to get McCoy back, which it doesn't sound like he'll come back for this week, I think it'll help the run game because I think at times Tim Banks is not willing to sell out to stop the run because he has a freshman corner. And so a lot of that, I think, is still dependent on his personnel, but it would be the pass defense, especially going up against a quarterback like Ty Simpson, who's been so accurate. He protects the ball. Alabama doesn't turn it over. They don't give you anything, even in terms of penalties. See, we've seen for years, Alabama, like Tennessee, has been one of the most penalized teams in the league, even going back to the late Saban years. And that's not the case with this Alabama team. So they're going to make you earn it, and Tennessee's got to find a way to not have to just rely on those turnovers because you're probably not going to get them. So you better be more stout in keeping them from driving into your red zone.
Yeah. Dudley, looking around at these matchups we got in the conference, and Arkansas, Bobby Petrino, I like what Oakley said, or one of y'all said, trying to keep your roster together. I mean, it is a cluster bomb, to put it mildly, when guys can just leave whenever they want to. You're going through a coaching change and all. The SEC, last year, again, nobody was fired. This year, I think there's several people that they're being prepared now for the change. So, if Arkansas keeps Bobby Petrino, Who right now? Who are the defensive coaches you're going to go get? You're going to bring in a whole new staff. You're just going to promote some of those analysts. I mean, the less instability, the better, I would think.
Yeah, I think that's going to depend on how well that Bobby Petrino's job, as well as the assistant's job, is going to be dictated on how they play these next few games, I think. Now, I will say this, you look at, Coach Petrino's lineage. He has a lot of, former coaches and a lot of coaches that are his friends that he could bring in here. I think he has the opportunity to put a really good staff together. Here's the thing I would say about that. I think Coach Petrino is a heck of a coach. I think recruiting is something he did, not something he enjoyed. During his time here, his recruiting classes were in the 18 to 22 range with one outlier, 37. But what I would tell you about that is Tim Horton was on the staff then,
Yeah.
and Tim Horton had a lot of great relationships with Arkansas kids. They got a lot of Arkansas kids during that time. I do think that someone on that staff is going to have to be somebody that can be a liaison to the Arkansas high school coaches. They just have not, as I mentioned earlier, the recruits are headed elsewhere. They've got to slow that down. And yes, I realize that the transfer portal is how you're going to get better quicker. And I do think that if you look at last year's transfer portal, Coach Petrino / Coach Pittman went out and got a lot of players that have turned that offense really into something that's really worth watching. They
Yeah.
didn't spend enough money on the defense. So however you go about revamping the team, revising the team, you're going to have to spend more money on the defense, which is a thing I thought I would never say in my life of college. Here we are.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say this for the record. I would go get Tim Horton from the Air Force Academy where he's coaching running backs. I love that guy. He's my friend and your friend. His father, Harold, won 38 straight, 3 national titles at UCA over in Conway with the Bears. And my friend Wes Moore does their games on ESPN 3, I think. More Sports out of Little Rock. Man, get Tim Horton. That you're right.
Yeah, and I don't understand why he's not being mentioned as a possible head coaching candidate.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people saying, hey, they should go get him for the staff. Maybe he should head the staff.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
not making a choice or anything. I'm just telling you, he fits all that criteria that that's out there that they want.
Well, Tim is one of the most personable, classiest, just good people, and no one will outwork Tim Horton. I mean, I'm with you, Vince. Man, this is awesome what's going on right now in college football. Call it parody or whatever, but man, Tennessee with Joey Aguilar. I want you to tell us, as a quarterback, you have seen a lot of good football. You were at Tuscaloosa at Tide 100.9 before you came to the Sports Animal in Knoxville. Where does Joey Aguilar rank, and what's the ceiling for this young man out of Antioch, California, which is also where former Alabama running back Najee Harris is from?
Yeah, I think that story is still to be written, and games like this Saturday, that's how you put yourself into the history books. That's how you position yourself in the rankings. I think the sample size is too small in terms of just it being in the history books and compared to some of the greats for Tennessee. I mean, for Joey Aguilar, the opportunity is there. I mean, he played great against the best team that they've played in Georgia. So they weren't able to get stops and then make a field goal at the end, though he did his part. And so if he continues to play that way in the big games, he's going to be thought of great down the road, but still has work to do for this year. So he's been great because his blood pressure doesn't elevate. He's just kind of, pretty much a flatliner. I know he went down late in that game against Arkansas, but he had the wind knocked out of him and he fell on the football. So that was good. Josh Heupel said we want him to avoid those, kind of hits and contact with the ground, that type of thing. But, even the interceptions that Oakley mentioned earlier, he has 5 interceptions this year. 3 of them are tips. Another one, a receiver fell down.
Yeah.
So really, he hasn't made very many bad decisions at all, especially, because in this offense, they don't stand for that. And so, he's had some drops, a few of them. Of course, Brazel should have had a TD catch last week.
Yeah.
Brazel hasn't had many drops. That was his first drop since week 1. So the thing is we got to see how he handles this kind of environment, and now how they handle the extra attention that Chris Brazel was getting.
Yeah.
Arkansas gave him a ton of attention with double coverage, so they forced other guys to try to beat them. And Braylon Staley had a really good game. Miles Kitzelman had a really good game. Mike Matthews contributed some. So they're going to have to do some things to still get the ball to Brazel, but they're going to have to make teams pay with those other running backs, the other wide receivers, tight ends, and then run the ball and be balanced. And we'll see what Aguilar does in those adjustments. He said, and the coaches said as well, they've seen, and Dudley, you know this, they saw the last 2 weeks, they've seen 4 different defenses run against them. At halftime, Petrino changed up what he was doing from changing up what he did at the beginning of the game. And then Mississippi State did the same thing. So they're going to get that week after week, and teams trying to throw him off his game. But, man, for the most part, I think he's handled it great.
I think Vince dropped the Natasha Bedingfield line there. In both at Arkansas and Tennessee and a lot of other places, the story's still unwritten about how the year's going to be looked back on. I think that you have situations here at Arkansas where, as Vince just said, Coach Petrino's trying some different stuff, quickly. And, you had to, because it wasn't really working on defense. They had some moments there the other day. Again, the 3 turnovers kept them from possibly pulling off an upset there, which would have been shocking for both programs, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But now Arkansas gets Texas A&M. Tennessee gets Alabama. It gets no easier in the SEC, does it?
No, I mean, it doesn't. There's nowhere to go hide. You cannot have a week off. And I look at the schedule. I don't think Indiana has another ranked team left on their schedule.
No. Well, Rob, look at this. Look at the SEC schedule. You notice for the first time, everybody plays each other. We have 8 league games.
Yeah.
3 of them are top 25 matchups.
Mm-hmm.
This is also the most top 25 matchups we've had among SEC teams. There's 2 outside the SEC, so there's 5 around the country. That's also the most. So this is a great week. I also like there's a mix of rivalry games like the third Saturday in October, A&M Arkansas that has some history. But then you have some teams that you don't often see play each other as well. Texas and Kentucky, LSU and Vanderbilt. How about LSU being an underdog to Vanderbilt? Like, who had that on their bingo card before the season, So it's just a cool all SEC schedule this weekend, and man, just can't wait for it.
Arkansas had a turnover last year against Texas A&M. They lost 21-17. It's amazing. Texas A&M dominated that series later down when it was in Arlington, but somebody who's the interim head coach here had a really good record against Texas A&M. 4-1, I think it was.
Dudley, is this the first year or the second year that they've been on campus for this series? First. Okay.
Yeah, and that's exciting. If you know the history of the Southwest
Hey,
Conference,
it's a much better, much shorter drive for me. 12 miles instead of 500.
Yeah, and I think about this. If you know the history of the Southwest Conference, how big a deal it is, because so many Arkansas graduates would head to Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, and now those people's kids are coming back to Arkansas. That's where all that Texas love comes from. But there are so many storylines, both of y'all, and we've got a few minutes left before we wrap up. What is a story up in Knoxville, Vince, that you're talking about, or that people maybe aren't really aware of nationally or globally? Because, the hour of power, yes, sir, we're everywhere, that's going on at Tennessee that's important?
I'd say I've given this answer before, and it's health/availability. Deshaun Bishop left the Arkansas game on a tackle, and Josh Heupel said earlier this week he anticipates him being able to go. We'll see, though, with the availability report. And then, the Jermod McCoy question has been out there. We had Brent Hubbs on from VolQuest yesterday, and he didn't anticipate McCoy being back. But just trying to get these players back, that's the biggest thing I think people are talking about with this team that maybe the others aren't following nationally.
All right, Dudley, same thing at Arkansas.
Yeah, I would tell you that I keep having people come up to me and say, "What's going on? Is there nothing happening with the coaching search up here? What's going on?" Well, there's plenty happening. I mean, there are people talking to people behind the scenes, judging with agents and stuff, how interested Arkansas would be in their coach or how interested the coach would be in Arkansas. So there's a lot going on back there behind the scenes that I think that some people are worried. Don't know how it works these days. And Eli Drinkwitz came out yesterday, and he was mad that his offensive coordinator had been linked to a possible interview with Arkansas. Said that wasn't true and all that. We'll play that over. What I will tell you though is that he made a statement that there is no integrity journalism online. Let's be careful about that. Let's say that there are a lot of people who can say anything they want out there, but there's a lot of still good journalists who learned how to do it in school, who still do it in three different sources and things. You don't just throw stuff out there. And let's be careful in saying what's media and what's internet.
Yeah, big difference because, Buddy Martin's watching the show right now. I talked to Buddy yesterday. That is journalism, true grit journalism. You two are two of the best because you do the electronic, you do radio, podcast, print, you get it all. And as you say, Dudley and Vince, the same thing. I don't traffic in rumors. You got to be very careful and be careful of what you bite on social media. Guys, thank you more than you know. Dudley had to jump off and go to class. For the record, he has not missed a single class in his college career. I mean, Oakley. It's the coffee. Oakley has not missed a single class, but y'all are two of the best, man. Dudley Dawson in Inside Arkansas. Vince Ferrara, the sports animal.
Appreciate you.
Can't do it without you. We'll see you next week. All right,
Thanks, man.
Let's say something about our sponsors we're blessed to have. Landers Ford, Memphis.com. Poplar and Houston Levy, where Collierville and Germantown come together right there on the corner. Ginormous lot, huge inventory. Kent Ritchie, Don Kitchens, the whole team out there, and Brad Bellamy, the general manager. You just can't get better people. Look, there's a lot of anxiety involved in when you want to go buy a new vehicle, truck, car, SUV, whatever. They'll take that and just throw it away. It's easy. It's really easy. Everybody needs a vehicle. Get out there, ask for Brad Bellamy, the GM. They're open Monday through Saturday. Every day of the week except Sunday. The day means more than the dollar. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Service department, exceptional. They provide round-trip transportation. Hey, the Broncos, the Expeditions, the vehicles they have out there, the F-150s, the F-250s, the King Ranch, the Expeditions, the Explorers. They've got them all demo priced at X-Plan pricing. All kinds of options for pricing. They'll take $500 off SEC Sidelines audience members. Give them the first chance to earn your business. You'll be glad you did. If you didn't buy your last vehicle from Landers, let's be honest, you paid too much. And they're right down the street from our good friends at Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville. It's easy. Just drive out to Germantown and Collierville. You're right there in Memphis. And you can order online. Go to hewlettanddunn.com. Boot of the week. Man, they've got Barber, Filson, Duckhead, Ariat, Wrangler. Folks, Ariat's got some of the best looking stuff that you've ever seen at very reasonable prices. And look, music night in the boot room coming up here soon. The Park Hillbillies, Filson Better Outdoors clothes. And they've got a lot of hunting gear in there. The new Filson hunting gear, it is amazing. They've got there they are. The Filson down vest, the down full coat with a hood on it, and this new 6-branch whale shirt. They've got so much to choose from. Men's, women's, and children, clothing and boots. Get out there, do yourself a favor. Look, Rumble Boxing Gym at Union and McLean in Midtown Memphis. How you fight is how you live. Work out every chance you get. Rumble Boxing. And, of course, Pro Athletes Hemp Association, the gummies, they work. energy, chill, lights out, topical, pain. They got it all. Hey, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. For executive producer extraordinaire, Brendan Martin, the best channel, the best team, the best family. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching.